Hey, what's up everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Thank you for tuning into this video. So we still see silver prices around the $18 range. FOMC meeting today. It's Fed Day basically, and it's going to be stirring up a lot of controversy. Federal Reserve cutting interest rates, all that stuff. We also have U.S.-China trade negotiations still coming to somewhat of terms. So prices are at a standstill, but they are on the upside, which is good. But I found a really interesting article. This guy has been noticing that there's more money coming into the silver futures markets, and these people are called whales that hold such a massive majority of the market that they can actually influence prices single-handedly from buying or selling. And he went into an extremely detailed and informational article that I want to share with you guys because this could be huge. I mean, right now you probably are thinking, oh well, you know, it's manipulation, but he actually addresses manipulation. He actually addresses all of the points that would be going against him, but he still holds a strong standing point. So I want to share this with you. The link will be in the description. So for all time, 35 years, I have alleged price manipulation in silver. For the nexus of the manipulation was extremely large, concentrated on short position held by 4 and 8 larger traders on the COMEX. These large traders on the short side are mostly banks, both foreign and domestic, with the largest short sellers being JP Morgan for the last 11 years. Now, we also see JP Morgan manipulating a lot of gold and silver behind the scenes, placing false buy orders. But he's talking about this isn't just JP Morgan, they're actually on the smaller side. So without this large concentrated short position, currently more than 96,000 contracts for the 8 largest traders, there would be no commercial net short positioning, and all it would have is absolutely no grounds to stand on for making allegations of this silver manipulation. So he's basically saying you can't just say, yes, JP Morgan, because he actually can point that out that there's short-term positioning. So concentration is a fancy term to describe a large position, either short or long, held by a very small number of traders. This is the term used for the CFTC to monitor each regulated futures market for signs of manipulation, since a price manipulation is only possible with concentrated positioning held by one or a few large traders. The agency has chosen to consider the positions held by 4 and 8 largest traders for concentration purposes, but could have just easily chosen 3 and 6 or 5 and 10 or similar numbers. To determine the concentrated long and short positions in every regulated futures markets, some simple arithmetic calculations are necessary, but with a $2 calculator it's not difficult, and hey, if I can do it, so can you. Back in June, I began to notice something highly unusual. Namely, an increase in concentrated long positioning for the 4 largest traders. This wasn't in the first time I've uncovered a concentrated long positioning in silver. Back in the late spring of 2018, I remember writing about the unusual buildup in the concentrated long positioning in COMEX silver. In hindsight, however, the buildup of concentrated long positioning in 2018 was strictly the work of managed money technical funds, some of which brought extremely large quantities of COMEX silver futures contracts and prices upwardly penetrated the key moving averages and just as quickly sold off those long contracts when prices subsequently fell sharply, incurring large losses. But the buildup of concentrated long position that began in June was different than that appeared to technically motivated. That position was largely completed before the key moving averages were decisively penetrated to the upside. The $20,000 contract increase in the concentrated long position of the 4 largest traders were largely accomplished at around $15 an ounce, or average by June 25th. Well, before a price jump is more than $4.50 into early September. At first, it looked like the concentrated long position was apparently liquidated by late August and were not highly unusual circumstances. The most plausible explanation was that large buyer of at least 20,000 contracts had sold the position at a profit of $300 million or thereabouts. But, of course, there were highly unusual circumstances occurring on the concentrated long position, declined by nearly 20,000 contracts by August 20th. The highly unusual circumstance was that this concentrated COMEX long future position was being liquidated. There were near simultaneous explosions of physical silver deposits into a few of the world's ETFs, which stands for exchange traded funds if you guys don't know, mostly SOV and SIVR. The Dutch Bank S silver ETF of 100 million ounces or more. This was largest total increase in silver ETFs holding so quickly into history. Soon became clear that the increase in physical silver deposits was directly related to the liquidation of the COMEX concentrated long position. So he went out of one and went into another. So while in no way did I anticipate that a big buyer would be insightful and masterful enough to first establish 100 million ounces of future positions on the COMEX with the intention of converting that future position into physical silver by swapping the future shares ETFs, I quickly concluded that this was transpired. And while the completed process is now largely out of sight and out of mind, what remains is the large buyer now holds 100 million ounces of physical silver at cost base of $15 that wasn't owned prior to August. So this guy is sitting on a lot of silver. Physical silver. Where would you put all that? I mean, transferring it out of an ETF or out of the digital side and going into the physical bullion side is definitely smarter in my opinion to an extent, because holding all that would be extremely dangerous. So, it's all well known in trading positioning in the COMEX silver futures vastly exceeded real world metal amounts, but while the excessive short positioning is largely the cause of price manipulation over the decades, the big buyer was smart enough to use his knowledge to his advantage. Even more masterful was the buyer knowing the futures positions needed to be converted into physical to avoid regulatory hassles which futures would come from being a large concentrated holder. So by converting futures contracts into physical, the big buyer made it near impossible for the regulators to someday force liquidation, as there is no law against how much physical material or any entity may own. And for those wondering how it's possible to convert those ETFs into a swap of that, it would be a prime broker or dealer. Which I was kind of concerned about. Like, how would you transfer all that? But with $20,000 contract, 100 million ounces of silver purchase completed, my intention is now on the signs of possible repeat of some magnitude may be underway, which is definitely true. Over the past 5 weeks, the concentrated long positioning of the 4 largest traders increased 7,900 contracts to 52,000 contracts as of last Tuesday, October 22nd, which was last week. That's equivalent of nearly 40 million ounces of silver. What makes the increase in this concentrated long positioning stand out is silver prices may be flat down to over the past month. This strongly suggests that the new big long is not a technical fund type likely to sell or liquidate added long positioning. So this is further supported by the fact that the gross long positioning managed money trader category has been reduced by 11,000 contracts over the last 5 report weeks. It's also possible that the new big buyer might be the swap dealer category, the second largest gross long category, which has been unchanged over the past month. So this is really long. I'm not going to go over all of it because it is a lot, and it is I'm sorry if you guys had trouble following along with that. But basically, this guy is in the ETF side of it, the digital side of it. He purchased 20,000 contracts and converted it, and he did it at the perfect times, transferred it over to physical bullion, which is 100 million ounces. And he did that so that no one could force liquidation on him, and no one could report it, basically. So he's now sitting on 100 million ounces of silver, but this repeat pattern's been happening because he did it earlier a couple months ago as well. So this guy has enough silver to highly push the prices either up or down, whether he's buying or selling. And if this guy, this one person, this silver whale, which I explained how whales work, you know, whatever his next move is could drastically change the price of silver. One person single-handedly could do this. And this guy, I mean, I haven't even touched a third of the article. He still is going on more details, more points, more, more affirmative standpoints that are showing that it's definitely possible that something could be happening sooner than later. And it's crazy to think that JP Morgan can do this behind the scenes, which is a billion-dollar company, but one person can also do it themselves and not even have to do it illegally like JP Morgan is, because JP Morgan places false buy orders with millions of dollars and then cancel them. And then once it shoots the price up, they sell it off. It's called spoofing, because and Merrill Lynch did the same thing. But this one guy can actually do it as well, and I think he's he's a genius. He's a master at what he does, and I'm curious to see where this leads out to. I thought this was a really interesting article, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm sorry that there was a lot of very dense information in one paragraph where it was almost a little tricky to read and be able to explain it at the same time so you guys could follow along. But no, nevertheless, though, it was an extremely interesting and it's an exciting article to read. The link will be in the description if you want to continue reading it, because I only scraped maybe a third of it, maybe not even a third of it. There's still a lot more that he goes on about, which I have read it all, but for the timely matter of this video, I'm not going to read it all for you guys. But I definitely recommend checking it out. Also, check out my other video that I posted today, how silver is above $18, and I go into some of the things that's going on behind the scenes. It's really important to stay in tune with the prices of precious metals, especially right now with so many big things going on, especially leading into the year of 2020. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe for new, because I post daily videos. This was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.